Well, you won't believe what just happened. I'm over here doing a grout video and the power went out. So now I've got this Ultra FA with polymer in the floor drying, and somehow I gotta work. So I'm gonna be working by flashlight to finish this project off. The most difficult grout on the market, and I've gotta finish by flashlight. Loving it. Hey guys, Jeff here. Today we are grouting the shower. We've got two different products that we're gonna be using, and today's video we're gonna talk about which product to use when, and how to use them effectively so as a homeowner you don't run into problems. If you remember in a previous video, I talked about how this grout right here is very difficult to work with, but in some applications it is the preferred choice. So let's go to grout school. Everywhere where you're working with tile, you're using natural surface materials like marble, terrazzo, quartz, even river stone. Okay, all of these materials they absorb water. They have to be sealed. You want to resist the temptation to seal this when you're done grouting for the following reasons. First of all, there's a lot of different color in this stone, okay? You don't see it right now because it's not sealed. Once we seal it, all those colors will come through. But if you grout first, all of these stones are going to absorb that colorant from the grout, and they're going to change the color of every one of those stones to the color of the grout. And that's going to be a problem because you bought it because you wanted those colors. So here's what we do. We put it in our stone. We try to set it into a thin set and just to embed it in a small 1/4 by 3/8 line. But inevitably, because of the variation and the gaps, sooner or later you're going to have a spot where some thin set rises to the surface, gets a little bit too close, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to get in there, break that up a little bit so that we have something to fill, right? We don't want to have thin set, we want to have grout. So we're just looking for little imperfections. But I'm going to be using a grout that has a sealer in the grout. Okay, so it's one-step application. But really what I'm looking for here is I'm just trying to be as picky as I can be about my situation so that I've always got somewhere for the grout to sit. All right, here we go. And next thing I'm going to do is take out my vacuum this clean, and then we'll talk about the product that we're going to use to apply on this. And we'll also talk a little bit about why so many bathrooms in America have mold problems. And the simple reason for that is because new construction never ever seems to use the quality products that are on the market that are available. They're always cutting corners to save costs. So as a homeowner, think about this. If you're getting a new house, you have to seal your grout. I'm actually going to grout this shower with a new construction grout, and then I'm going to show you how to seal it, all right? So that when you guys are working, you'll have lots of play, lots of time to apply your product and wash it, and then you'll know how to seal your grout in your house, because 99 out of 99 bathrooms don't have sealed grout in them. All right, now that I'm done tooling around, let's just get the vacuum out. Here's a really interesting situation. This is a little bit of thin set that got on that stone during construction. Imperative we get rid of that. Okay. There we go. Now, I've said this before, but when you're doing work like this, when you're doing your work, it's all about the preparation, right? Applying the product is usually easy. It's about the preparation, and knowing which product to put on is also very important. Here's what I'm using. It's an impregnator sealer, which basically means it's a penetrating sealer. So it's not going to sit on the surface of the stone as much as on the surface, but it's going to get inside that stone. So it'll lock out the ability for moisture to travel into it. And that is why we're using it. And I'm using, oh great, love these little things. Okay, I'm using the my paint pan. This is just a paint caddy. It comes with a plastic liner, disposable. Okay. Went by the HD this morning, picked up a disposable brush. Not going to use a rag. Okay, I'm just going to pour a generous helping of that in there. You don't want it dripping everywhere. Okay, just a touch of rock. We're going to just touch a rock here. I'll show you the difference. Now that's what the stone's supposed to look like. Let's take a look at this one here. Look how boring that is, right? Let's get the sealer on there. Wow, look how much character it is, huh? This is what I'm talking about. That's what I bought. I bought something that's gonna feed off of this glasswork that's above me in the shower. So I'm gonna start with underneath my sill, okay? I'm just gonna paint it on, not too liberal here, all right? You don't have it as a great big drippy mess. It penetrates, but it only goes so much in there. Okay, here we go. It's just enough to get that stone to change its, to reflect its natural color. Now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow my own advice. Whenever you're doing a paint job or a tile job, always have your ass pointed to the door the whole time you're working, and then you won't ever paint yourself into a corner. Let's start back here. Let's bring this stone to life. So this does two things. It's an enhancer, so you see the actual beauty of the stone. It seals it so that when you grout, you don't change the color of it. It's also a perfect opportunity right now before I grout. If I hit thin set, it's going to scream at me because it's going to be a different material and a different color. And it'll be really obvious before I start grouting. I've seen guys do videos on this really quickly on the internet before, you know, and sometimes they've grouted already and sometimes they haven't. There we go, see that? Bam, thin set, thin set. Yep. I got an opportunity to do something about that right now. This is what I'm talking about. Being picky on your job means you're in the driver's seat. You don't ever have a surprise if you're your own biggest critic. And then reseal. There we are. The worst time to find that there's a problem was in the middle of your grout job. Okay? Because you've already mixed your product. And it only has a certain amount of working time. Now, let's just take a quick look now. Sealed and not sealed. Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm getting excited about grouting this thing now. Because this is going to look amazing when it's done. This is fun because it's kind of like you're waiting to see what other color is going to pop out of the stone. We got this as well. All the way along the side here. And at this point in the juncture, if there's too much material, it'll just run off right down into that thin set and be gobbled up when we grout. All right, we'll get the lights in here and we'll do a little pan action. You can see how pretty this is. That it just keeps on popping. If you do things in the right order, you can protect your product and you won't be disappointed with your results. All right? Most construction, especially when you get into custom work, doing tile and paint and flooring, it takes years and years and years and mistakes and learning from those mistakes to get to a point where you can be comfortable enough to do something right the first time. All right? So if you like get information from a seasoned vet of 35 years in the trades, 80 hours a week, my entire life, I'm telling you right now, I'm giving away this information for free because I want to see you, homeowners, be the best contractor that you can be because you can't find one anymore. Okay guys, so when you're doing grout work, the secret is to mix at low speed. And you can do it by hand. It's actually preferred, especially when you're working with a grout that has a really long set time. So let's talk about the product here. The Cara Color Unsanded Grout. There are 3 types of grout now. Traditionally, we had sanded and unsanded. And in the world of tile, all you had to know was unsanded was for walls and sanded was for floors. Used to be really simple. But we changed the rules a long time ago, back in the 60s, so that we didn't have to have a mortar bed anymore for our tile. We switched to thin set. And ever since 1960 and the switch to thin set, I would say we spent a good 40 years learning how to use that product effectively so we have long-term results. Like back in the early days, 2,000 years ago, they'd tile a church, and you can still go and visit those churches in Europe today and the floors are perfect because the technology that went into that was tested for thousands of years. And so people had come to that point where they knew how to build things, right? Well, we just weren't happy with that in our modern culture. Everybody wants to change everything all the bloody time because there's money to be made if we can do things faster. So for 40 years, they did tile work in North America, and it was an absolute disaster. Problem after problem after problem. Anyway, make a long story short, now we've got a third type of grout. We have a polymer additive grout, and that's what we're gonna use today. We're not gonna go with a traditional sanded grout without a sealer. We're gonna use one that has a polymer with a sealer. But today, let's start with the walls. Always want to grout from the top down. Rule number 2, mix the whole bag at once. Read the label. And it says we need to put in approximately, wow, get me some glasses. Holy cow, I can't read that small. How are your eyes, Lee? Okay, 1.5 liters. That little circle there.
48 to 54 ounces, 1.4 to 1.6 liters.
Okay. Wow, okay. So here we are. So I'm a little shy on my water here. Okay. If you're a beginner, then having a pail with the measurements on it is really effective. Okay, here we go. Now I'm just shy of 2. And I probably am gonna hate myself for going that much. I think I'd rather leave a little bit of room so I can add some water while I'm mixing. All right, same rule applies. Put in like half a bag, all right? And then make sure you get a mixture like this, because what this does is it cleans out the corners. These products tend to just settle in the corners. Nice and gentle. Make a mixture. Run it right into the edges. Make sure you don't have any of that buildup happening. And then we can add the rest of the contents right in the middle, okay? Try your best not to put it up against one side, or you're gonna have a great big dry chunk later. Now, if you have a slow mixer, you have a lot more control. If you have a DeWalt drill, you can put it on low speed. This is a sensitive drill that I bought to try to save money on this job. Whoa, there we go, easy on the speed. There we go. And the reason we want to go easy on the speed is this is a combination of a bunch of different particles of different colors to achieve the color that we want. And generally speaking, white grout is white grout, even if it doesn't look like white grout when it comes out of the bag. Right now it looks a little bit brown. Trust me. Believe it or not, that's actually white. Okay. That looks like a good mix. I'm happy with that. So let's go talk about the application process. You're gonna want to have cardboard boxes around when you're doing projects like this, right? This is just to protect the floor from the grouting process, because it isn't always as convenient as you'd like it to be. Now remember, the way we grout is we grout all of our surfaces. And I know in times past you've seen me, I'll grout the inside corner as well, but then I add the silicone. Today we're gonna follow the actual tile rules for the Tile Council of North America, and we're not gonna put anything in the gaps. Every change of plane should be silicone, not grout. Okay, here we go. This is a nice little paste. We don't wanna start with too much, okay? Again, this is all about controlling the application. We don't wanna get this grout on the floor because it's a different product than what we need on the floor. I like to get a little bit of product on the wall, and then I can start working. And you can see that it lumps and sags really nice. It's gonna sit there while I'm working. Get this out of my way. Now, the basic process here is you wanna take your grout that's on your float, and you wanna have it on a 45-degree angle to the line and off the tile. and you want to go like this. You're snow plowing it in. You're actually forcing it into those grooves and pushing the air out. That's what the 45 degree does. Okay? Make sense? So you can push it in, okay? And make sure that it's filled. If you don't do it this way, it's going to look filled, and then when you go to wash the wall, you're going to find that you wash that little bit of grout off that was sitting there, and then you have an air pocket, and then you got to go back and touch it up. And it tends to take a long time to grout like that. So 45s everywhere you go. Run your line, okay? And if you have too much product on your sponge, your grout float, sorry, then get rid of it. Okay, maintain control over your environment. Every time you do a line, you want that 45. Okay? And then we clean as we go. Now with this tile, it has a texture. So again, 45, 45. We're gonna push that in and not try to fill that corner. And then you can clean. You follow the texture to clean. Okay? It creates less work for you later on. There we go. Just gotta be careful how much product you're putting on so that we're not making the floor job difficult. Okay? I'm gonna just finish up these grout lines here. All right. Okay. This line here is gonna be silicone as well, so we don't need grout there. And we use grout up against our metal edging. It's counterintuitive to everything I just said. Now, you can see that I'm leaving the wall pretty clean. Greatly reduces the amount of work that I gotta do later. Do yourself a favor, work clean. You work a lot less if you work clean. If you work messy, you'll end up putting a lot more effort into your wall. Okay, now, that is how I think you should grout if you're a beginner, okay? And here's how you can grout once you get a little bit of experience. Load up your grout, okay, and just run it up the wall. And then you come back on a 45 and press it all in. Load it, press it. Load it, press it, okay? Makes the process a lot faster. Load it, press it. Load it, press it. And you can come in both different directions. Does a nice job of filling everything in, and that'll speed up your process. And once you get comfortable using the grout float, and you'll know you're comfortable when using it once you've actually washed a few walls and you don't have those pinholes showing up when you're washing. That means you've got your process down really good, okay? Then you can worry about speed. That's why in that other video that I did where I compared the two grouts, I warned you against using the ultra color because it requires you to have a certain amount of speed. Okay, they do set up, this particular grout gives you well over an hour of working time. And depending on the humidity, the temperature, the ratio of water to the grout, it all affects the drying time on this product. So you may or may not find yourself with enough time to get the job done if you use the wrong grout. Okay. So you remember I talked about the 3 different kinds of grout. This is the one that should, for the beginners on the walls, okay? This is unsanded, great working time, really merciful when you're actually finishing up, doing all your polishing, okay? Because you can have a big blob of this set aside, get a pinhole and go back and use the same blob. One of the keys here is to always have a little bit left over when you're finished for doing minor touch-ups. Okay. Don't fill this area here with grout. When we're in our final plumbing, if you're really concerned about water getting behind there, you can add silicone at that point. There will be an extrusion flange to cover that. As a beginner, using this is incredibly merciful. Now, this does not have the sealer in it. The product that we're going to be using on the floor has the sealer in it. And it goes anywhere from 1/16 to 1/2 of an inch grout line. So it's incredibly versatile, which is why most of the people in the trades use something like that product, the polymer additive, okay, because of the versatility. They also have the ability to work really fast, so they don't run into those problems. I've had times in the past where people have commented in my members forum What do I do, Jeff? I use the wrong grout and now it's hard and I can't polish it. I'm like, retile your bathroom. It's the only answer. Seems rather extreme, but it is the truth. So if you don't want to have to retile your bathroom, use a grout that's easy to work with. And I'm not saying it's not work to do this. I'm just saying it's a lot less work than the other option. Okay. It was standard height before I did the floor. Hard to believe this is white when you look at it, eh? Now you'll see the longer you go, the stiffer this product gets, the more work it is to apply it. Now I mix my pail instead of at 1.8, but 1.6. And the reason for that is I'm trying to protect my floor. If I mix this at 1.8, it would last a lot longer, okay, and make it easier for me to wash. But I chose a more difficult installation so I don't have grout flying everywhere. Because when it's wet, it is really difficult to control. So you'll see when I'm done this wall, I barely have anything sitting on the bench beneath me. Not that I'm not trying to let it get there, but just the nature of stiff grout. It'll stick to the wall instead of flying off your grout fluid. Should also mention, there's one other kind of grout out there, and I don't really recommend it for homeowners. That's epoxy. That's more of a commercial and institutional grout. Use it in showers and locker rooms, swimming pool areas. Anybody in this business knows if you're trusting on your grout to be the waterproofing system, you've already lost that battle. What it usually does is it gets you past the warranty period on the company. And that's why they're using it. So if somebody wants to use waterproof grout on your bathroom, remember, epoxy grout only works if the substrate is made properly. The thing that it's supporting is strong enough to support it. Otherwise, it'll end up failing too, just after the warranty period expires. I want to have color variation issues. Because if I do half that wall with this mix, which has got a different concentration of water than the next batch, I will end up with two different whites. Remember, grout coloring isn't a perfect science. The quality of the grout and the color consistency is only in mixing the same product one bag at a time on one surface at a time. Okay, it's just like paint. When you're painting, you don't want to be halfway through a wall and open a new gallon of paint. Just be careful here with your metals. Really force that in there, guys. It becomes part of the structure. If you don't get a good fill, then there's a risk of that metal deflecting when people sit on the bench. Okay? Deflection is your enemy. That causes things like cements and grouts to break. Make sure I got it all. There's a little extra there. I never got in that corner. Okay, good. Now I can do this wall. This is still part of the shower. Now you'll notice the float has got round corners and square corners. Okay? When you're going up near a ceiling and you're going to do a fill, use the square. Because you can put that product on the wall and then wipe it off pretty consistently. And just press it in. There we are. Okay, and walk away. Let it set up and then we can clean it later. When you're going up against your inside corners, use it like this so you don't press the grout into that corner. Okay. Now you see I got a fair amount of grout left here. Probably have enough for half that wall. But it's not worth it to try to save that $10 in product, because you're gonna have to open the next bag anyway. And the next bag is gonna have enough for the whole wall. Instead of being cheap and try to say, ooh, I saved a half a bag of grout, and mixing those two colors together, you can't do that because they're gonna dry at different rates. Your grout will go to junk, okay? Just throw it out, wash your tools, and then move on. Now this is done, I move right into washing. I'm not gonna wait around. Well, here we go, guys. Shout out to Lowe's, by the way. Lowe's carries the grout that I like. Back when I'm in Ottawa, I always have my tile supply store. I love to go to Dragona in Ottawa, so cheers to you guys. I love the Mapei line. Down here in the States, the Florida Home Depot is carrying custom building products. And it's decent building products, I guess, you know, like I'm just not familiar enough with them to implement it in my product. So I'd rather go to Lowe's and get the grouts that I'm familiar with, because they're the ones that I love. Use a lot of different products in my life. And just as a interesting question, guys, if you're watching this and you're in the business or you've used other products and you can recommend them, you know, feel free to shout out the names. Are you into Laticrete, Fusion? What do you like? But for me, see how easy this is to work with? I'm not doing much. It's just a damp sponge. I'm going across the grout line because that's a beveled edge. And if I just go back and forth across like that, I got a perfect beveled edge. Now here, it's filled up. There's way too much grout here. What we do is we're gonna just wipe back and forth across that edge and add whatever pressure we need to make that line consistent, okay? Now it's a consistent grout line. Here we go, same thing. You don't wanna put too much pressure that you're gouging it out. If you go with it, with your pressure, you'll just scoop it all out of the grout line. So go contrary to it and just polish it in until the beveled edge of that tile is protecting that grout from being wiped out, and it's consistent with the rest of the tile work that you're doing. When you get in these corners, go both directions. You're gonna wanna have 2, maybe 3 pails of water. You're gonna be pulling off the product and contaminating your water with the product. So this is step 1. It has so much grout in there that the sponge actually wants to sink to the bottom. This one is number 2. There's hardly any content in that water, so the sponge still floats. Make sure to take your sponges out. These are not sea sponges. The longer they're in the water, the more they degrade. Okay, so let them stay dry when you're not using them. As you go, you're gonna wanna switch out your pail so that you can keep using clean water. If you're working with clean water, you won't need to use as much washing in the second wash, because this is what this is. This is the first wash and then a second wash, okay? First wash is just to buffer and get all these grout lines consistent. The second wash is to clean the extra grout and grout haze off the tile. But what you don't want to do is overwash. You don't want to have to use a third wash, for instance. Especially if you're using colored grout, guys. The third wash, on beiges especially, is infamous. Grays even, changing the color of your grout, because you pull all the colorant out of the product. So very important that whatever process you're using, you stay consistent with the process so your grout stays consistent color. All right, so I'm just buffing with light pressure, realizing that water is part of the abrasion. So if it's not cleaning out, add a little bit more pressure if your sponge is getting dry. I'd rather pass the sponge 6 or 7 times on a grout line with light pressure than try to make it perfect with one wipe. Now the sanded grout that we use on floors is much simpler to work with. And there's a totally different procedure for grout in that. You see, this is the difference between a good grout job and a bad grout job. Let me show you, 1 second. Let me just clean this tile out. How many times in the world do we see grout jobs that look like this and they're finished? Right? It all looks great, and then somebody missed a line. And they try to sell that off as like, oh, well, yeah, that happens. Contractors, you all know it. That doesn't happen if you're paying attention and you're not trying to rush off to the next thing. That is not a professional grout line. You can't charge people money for that. Okay? And if you're a homeowner, don't accept it. You tell them exactly what you want your grout lines to look like. Have a picture handy. But for the best results as a homeowner hiring somebody in your home, be on site and manage them by watching as they work. This is the last part of making that tile job look pretty. And if you screw this up, the whole job just looks like a rookie did it. Looks like a child was in your bathroom. This is not the time to let somebody rush. Which is one of the reasons why using this product and then adding the sealer later is a really good idea, because you're not in a hurry. If you're paying a pro to be in your house, you're not paying by the square foot, you're paying a contract price. And they should know how to price the job so that they have the time to do it properly. The reason I'm doing this video is to give you an idea how long it takes to actually do a good job on a grout, to grout a shower. Whew. This entire shower is going to take me well over an hour to finish installation and buffing. And it's not my first rodeo. All right guys, so I intentionally left the bottom here. I wanted to show you what happens when you leave it. So what you want to do is have a system where you start on a wall, top to bottom, whatever it is, have a system left to right, right to left, wash in the same manner, okay? Now I've left this, and I went and washed my other walls first. You can see how difficult this is. Look at the line here. It's like breaking up on me, okay? Now this isn't a problem, you can still salvage this. The key is, just get it wet. Nice, gentle surface pressure, okay? Let that water sit there for a minute. It'll soak it up, soften up, and then we can buff. This is what the flexibility that I'm talking about with this grout. This was the other product with the polymer, and you made the same mistake, which is easy to do. You just get like a phone call, or you get turned around and you come back, the pail's sitting here and you miss a whole corner. All kinds of things can happen. And you come back and you go, ah, and you can't get it off, because that polymer sets up, and there's no way to reverse that by adding water. There we go. That's working out really nice here. This was done much later than that first tile. I'm pretty sure when I started this video, I started down here in this corner. Now it's almost at the very end. Now, I wet it. Now we're gonna just buff it now. Takes a little bit more work, but again, as long as you go against the line and you're not scooping it out, you'll get a really consistent finish. You'll end up buffing all of that extra grout out of that beveled edge of the tile. Now, if you're working with marble or travertine, a lot of times they won't have a beveled edge. Even more important to make sure that you have a process, keep your water cold, okay? Have somebody helping you to change out your pails, keep your water clean. There we go. Whew. Because at the end of the day, the quality of your grout work is 20% about the product and 80% about your application. 1, 2, and 3 walls are completely finished. All right, I've got a couple areas. Really, this is kind of simple. We have to maintain the same concept as 45 degrees. You want to have a sponge that you've wrung out, so it's not leaking, okay? And you set it and you pull. That's a pass. You set it and you make a pass. Now it's dirty. Now you wash it, okay? Set it, make a pass. Flip it over, set it, make a pass. And that should get 90–95% of it. What we don't want to do is make too many passes on the same section, because what happens is you're going to pull the color out. It's going to get distorted. We're cleaning the tile. And pass it, flip it, pass it. Okay, that's the whole process. Now, in the midst of doing this, you're going to see you're going to get little drip lines. It's not the end of the world. When you're all done with the second wash, you can go get yourself a microfiber rag, or even wait for the next day, and then you can just buff it with that microfiber rag. And it takes all of this last little bit of haze off. Okay, but you want to just pass it, flip it. Any more than that, you're going to be inconsistent with what's influenced that grout color, and you're going to have streaks and lines and everything else. Now, mine's not as crucial because it's white, but if this was a navy blue grout or something, you would see a dramatic change if you changed the process on any part of your grout line. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's not that big a deal, Jeff. I'm like, well, if you leave grout haze on there and you don't do this step, then you're going to need to go out and buy a chemical to take this off. Now, you might be able to polish it off the next day. That's not a very good grout line there. Okay, but you aren't going to get it off 2 days later. No siree. So if you go and polish, or you do your grout work on a Sunday, and then you go back to work, like a lot of DIYers, and you haven't polished this properly, got the haze off, it's there for good. And you're going to be spending about 50 or 60 bucks on a grout haze remover, and it's going to be work. Remember, all of these products are cement-based. Okay? They've all got a bit of Portland cement in it. And that stuff is not to be messed with once it's dried. Grout specifically is not designed to be washed off after the fact, okay? The thin set is actually more merciful than the grout if you leave it on the wall. Make sure you wash your ceilings and your walls as well. Remember, for proper grouting, you always want to have painted surfaces before you tile. That's the key. And I need this ladder for one more pass over here. There we go. All right. There we go. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Wipe. I'm just leaving that grout in there as a backer for my silicone. Okay? It's just too difficult to do a silicone joint that's that thick. It's all wiped in. Do the bottom of this one. I haven't done any of this yet. Okay, now I'm going to wash my floor. Inevitably, you're going to get a little bit of grout on here. We try our best to manage that. This is your last chance to inspect your floor before we put our other grout product on. And if there's a little bit of moisture in here, it's not going to hurt anything. Remember, this is natural stone, so because natural stone needs all the help it can get to make sure that it's sealed up so that you can have it beautiful when we're finished. All right. Oh, there's a little piece of grout there. I'm just wiping the whole thing so that the grout goes dark on me again. If it fell earlier, it'll go light, so I just make sure I pass water everywhere so that imperfections scream. All right. Here we go. Well, shower's done. Now let's go take care of this floor. Okay, guys. Time for grout number 2. Well, that's nasty. Try that again. Okay guys, time for grout number 2. This one is the Ultra Color Plus FA. Basically means polymer, and it has a sealer in it. Now, all grout needs to be sealed. If it isn't sealed, it's like natural stone. It'll absorb water and it'll release it in behind where your waterproofing system is. You don't want to introduce water to your waterproofing system. You don't want to tax it. Why make it work so hard, okay? So, we want to use sealer because it extends the life of the shower. Bottom line. 99% of the tile in the world is not sealed. That's just the way it is, because most people have tile in new home construction, and no one in the new home construction business uses this grout. They all use the cheap stuff, because the unsanded grout is half the price, okay? So think of 8 million bags of grout a year being used in new home construction, and times an extra 10 or 15 bucks a bag. The industry's not paying for that. And nobody in the homeowner builders, no homeowners know the difference, right? So you all think, well, of course they seal it. That sounds like integrity. That sounds like it should be done, but it isn't being done, trust me. And if you're not sure if it's done, just go take some water and wipe your wall. And if the grout line changes color, it's not sealed, okay? That's how you know. This particular grout goes 1 liter of water, not 1.4 to 1.8. It's less water. Now, I've heard people say, oh, I used this product before, no problem. You probably made it with too much water, okay? That slows down the chemical reaction time and it buys you more working time, but it's also really thin when you put it on like that. And you probably didn't get your grout lines filled very well. You probably shrunk a lot after your installation. Yeah, I should wear a mask, I know, but I don't do this every day anymore. Not a big deal. Again, the secret is in mixing it really slow, like really slow. This one's actually really better done by hand. The faster you mix this, the faster it sets. The warmer the water, the faster it sets. The drier the air, the faster it sets. The drier the floor you're putting it on, the faster it sets. That's why I just finished washing the floor. Adding that little bit of moisture is going to give me a lot of working time. Now this particular product, after you've mixed it, it wants a few minutes to set up. Give it the setup time. It's going to be really sloppy right now. They want the setup time to be 4 to 5 minutes. So you mix this, and it's just runny mush. It's just soup. Okay, it's like lobster bisque, only it's gray. The reason I'm using warm gray, which is the color, because even with the sealer, okay, people have oil on their feet. And wherever floor you walk on with your bare feet is going to absorb oil out of it, and that oil is going to trap dirt and your grout's going to go gray. I don't care what color you use, it goes gray, because dirt is gray. All right, so you might get a year or two out of blue or white or whatever, it's all going to end up going gray. So if you start with gray, then no one can tell when it goes gray. And then your floor will be intentional gray everywhere instead of just gray where you walk. All right, so do yourself a favor and go gray on the floor. It's the most logical choice. Give this the full 5 minutes before we start using it, because it starts to set up. It's already getting thicker, you see that? It's only been a minute, it's already starting to set. This is a chemical reaction. This is not a traditional unsanded or sanded grout. You gotta trust the science. Give it the 4 or 5 minutes, set your watch to it, because you don't want to give it 10, because this has limited working time once you get it in the floor. Okay, so we're going to remove our floor grate for this process. You'll notice we still haven't cut away this membrane that separates the drain from here. That's important, okay? Make sure that your floor grout is all below your tile line so it doesn't show up afterwards. All right, that looks good. Whenever you're working with textured tile, you really got to take extra precaution and care to take care of this mess. Texture equals problems. Okay, here we go. Now let's see how this is working out. Ooh, it's getting thicker still. Still have about 2 to 3 minutes left. So we wait. Don't want to be in a hurry. Working with all this grout sucks the living daylights out of the moisture in body. Holy cow. You're going to see all these air bubbles. This product is still trying to set up. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to push it around. Nice, almost like a floor leveler, because I made it a little on the wet side. Okay. And you can mix this like a paste if you like, but the minute you do that, you're running out of time. One little trick here. Okay. Protect that white grout line with a trowel. All right, there we go. And this is why we use the sealer. Imagine pouring this all over the stone without having a sealer on it. This is one of these products you got to have some comfort factor of the fact that you know how it sets up. Okay, I know that this stuff sets up. It's not going to shrink very much at all. Remember, we don't need to have grout all the way into that corner. What we want to do is finish all that with silicone. And these stones that we're working with are very flat surface, okay? So I'm just getting rid of the extra grout. And you can use a grout float for that as well. The longer this sits there, the more it sets up. And we don't need to have big grooves in between the rocks exposing the surface. We're gonna need a little bit more, I think. Okay. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that like to mix this stuff the same as regular grout as far as its consistency. You like that pasty, powdery feel, right? That toothpaste thing, but I'm telling you right now, you mix this with the right amount of water, it is gonna be runny. So if you're gonna do a shower, and you're gonna do walls with this product, you've gotta make it thicker, or you gotta be patient until it really sets up. The more you touch it, the more it thins out. All right, this is actually designed to go thick the longer it sits. So when you have enough on there, keep the area clean. What we're going to do is we're going to just work on the surface here in the middle, okay? I'm getting my trowel clean here again. Get the tools out of the way. Here we go. Dry sponge, okay? Now it's still wet. You can see I got a bit of an air hole here, okay? We're going to just work that in. We're just going to keep on doing this. Every 2 or 3 minutes I'm going to come back, try the sponge out. Okay, and I'll test the product again and see if it's gotten stiff. Once it's gotten stiff, then we can start work on basically tooling the area with the sponge. There we go. Now we wait. When the product's ready, it'll tell us. So it's setting up here, guys, now. So it's kind of like the way you set this polymer in here. Is just like when you're doing the second pass on regular grout. Gentle, and you wipe. Okay? Now, inevitably we're going to get a couple of air bubbles here. We're going to fix that in just a minute. Let's get the extra material out of our way. Set it, and then wipe. That exposes the top of that stone, leaves a little bit of an indent. There we go. And takes the extra grout off the surface. Okay, just gonna polish now, get the air bubbles out, let this product finish settling up, and then we'll give it a final once over. All right, I'm gonna let this sit for about another 5 to 7 minutes. I can't wait to stick the vanity on that floor. This room is going to be sexy. There we go. All right. Oh, hey.
I didn't do it.
Okay, everybody out. It's fine. It is what it is. Oh, Jesus. Right there. All right, well, that just happened. Here I am in the middle of making my video using a product that has zero mercy in it, and the power for the entire neighborhood just went out. We are in a brownout situation. So, regardless, I got to get this done. Yeah, right over top of us if you can. I'm just gonna come in here and just like the other wall towel that you saw, I'm just gonna wipe and drag, okay? And try to get as much of the extra residue off of the surface as possible. Bring your hand in nice and dry, okay? There we go. That is some good looking stone. Might I suggest for all of the tradesmen out there, have a good portable light setup with you if you're ever working with this product, because this is a real scenario nowadays. The more we try to switch to electrical power with a failing grid, the more we run into rolling brownouts. It's just part of the new world we're living in. Here we go. And if you can, grab yourself a hard hat, strap a couple of flashlights to it so that you can always be confident that you can finish what you start. Unbelievable. Now listen, I know that a lot of guys out there, you got a different process than I do. All right, there ain't nothing wrong with what I'm doing here. It may just be a little bit different than what you recommend for your clients. So guys, if you hire somebody to do a project for you and their process is just a little bit different than mine, it's not necessarily wrong, it's just different. All right, now, I'm going to wait until this is almost rock hard. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to polish the big pieces of grout that are left here, okay? Wow. Not the most opportune situation, but at the same time, you know, you got to adapt. You got to overcome your challenges, especially when you're working with this product.